Hello there, it's Fred Dinenage again. Thank you so much for joining me. We're talking about the television and how you get into it and what it's like when you do get into it. And I've told you before, the way in is to pester the TV companies, tell them what you want to do. If you want to be on the production side or you want to be a presenter, tell them what you've done. Try things like hospital radio if you can, or a bit of local radio if you can find it, or journalism. I mean, journalism is a great way in. That's the way I got into TV. I mean, I was lucky because I met a girl called Anne Nightingale who was doing TV at the time, and we're talking now about the mid-60s, 1963, end of 1964, and Annie got me into a show called Three Go Round, which was a children's magazine program for Southern TV, and that in turn led me on 18 months later onto Day by Day, which was the regional magazine show for Southern television in the South and Southeast, and I was a reporter on that before I branched out into other things, including How, which I'll talk about on another occasion. But I want to talk about the people I've met when I was doing Day by Day, and one man above all others had a real impact on me. Now, his name was Alec Rose. He was a greengrocer. He had a shop in Osborne Road in Southsea in Hampshire with his wife Dorothy, just a small greengrocery business. He was a weekend sailor. He had a yacht called the Lively Lady, a tiny yacht, very simple, very plain, no great devices on it like they have these days. It was just such an ordinary little boat. And Alec decided in 1966 he was going to sail single-handed around the world. Everybody thought he was mad. It wasn't a success. He set off, but he had a collision and he had some mechanical problems as well. And he came back and everybody said, "Oh, Alec, he's got this dream, but it'll never happen." A year later, in 1967, he did set off once again to sail around the world. Before he went, he offered Southern TV the chance and Day by Day the chance to do a little film with him. So they sent me down to the marina at Gosport in Hampshire, where he kept the Lively Lady, and there he was. To my eyes, I was only quite young at the time. I was like 23, 24. He looked like an old man to me, and he took me on board the Lively Lady, and he said, "Should we go for a sail?" And my cameraman was with us as well. And we said, "Yes, and we'll film this." And we just started off, and he immediately crashed into the side of the boardwalk at the marina. And I thought, my goodness me, how's he ever going to sail around the world? And he took us for a little sail in the Solent, and he was utterly charming and friendly and very, very sweet. And he took us back. And when I got on dry land again with my cameraman, I said to my cameraman, "This old fella's never going to sail around the world. He couldn't possibly do it." Anyway, off he went. And a year later, believe it or not, in 1968, on the 4th of July, Independence Day, Alec Rose sailed back into Southsea in Hampshire. It was amazing. He'd sailed single-handed around the globe in this tiny boat. He had a radio in it. He had his navigation equipment. He had some tins of food, and that's about it, really. It was so primitive, not like the modern-day yachts that go sailing around the world with all the gizmos on board. No, Alec didn't have any of that. It was just a rickety old boat. It was incredible how he did it, and when he came back, there were thousands of people, some say 100,000 people on the beach at Southsea to welcome him home. I was there. Again, Day by Day gave me a chance. They let me do the commentary as Alec Rose returned home to Portsmouth. It was an amazing day. It was a sunny day. The crowd was, as I say, was enormous. The atmosphere was absolutely tremendous. And ashore he came, this dear man who later became such a very, very good friend, and later, of course, became Sir Alec Rose, and his dear wife, Dorothy, became Lady Dorothy. He'd never changed them one iota. They eventually gave up the greengrocery business they had in Southsea, but lived a very quiet, normal, ordinary life, and he became a very good friend of mine. And he and I became patrons of the Stubbington Ark, an RSPCA shelter, which another dear friend of ours, a lovely fellow called Ricky Lopez, somehow found £100,000, which was in those days was an absolute fortune. He raised it via me and Alec a lot of the time. We all helped him. And the Stubbington Ark is still there to this day, a wonderful place for animals. And Alec Rose and I became very, very close friends. He was a nice, ordinary man. And I remember he once said to me, "Fred, you never thought I was going to get around the world, did you? I said, oh, Ali, why do you say that? He said, I could see it in your face. When we hit that pontoon in my nose, he said, I knew you thought I wasn't going to do it. When I did it, I showed you how. And talking of how, that also started about that time as well, via a wonderful man called Jack Hargreaves. And he auditioned me for How. I think it was an audition in the most unusual way possible. An incredible story, this, and I'll tell you all about it next time we meet. For now.